What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, I got one thing to say to y'all. I got one thing to say to y'all. Here it is.
That was easy.
Guys, what in the world did we just witness? OMG, UConn.
That was easy.
Easily takes down South Carolina 82-59 to win the NCAA championship for the 12th time. Guys, OMG. I told y'all I expected UConn to win. Not news. I thought I expected UConn to win. I didn't expect this though. Literally, this was...
That was easy.
The reason why I was late to the stream is because guys, I've had this button for years. And I was like, ooh, let me use this button for the stream. And then I couldn't, and then it was dead, so I had to find batteries, and so that took me a while, so that's why I was late. But guys, what in the world did we just witness? Wow. It was a total annihilation. And guys, we're going to talk about it. Because the big three for UConn absolutely did their job. And it was...
That was easy.
For most of the game. All right? Really, that entire second half and a huge portion of that second quarter. Guys, we gonna walk through this game because, as y'all know, I had the unfortunate pleasure of actually not being able to watch the game live. Well, I was watching it live for parts. So I watched the live. I watched the entire. I watched the first quarter, and it was very, very close. And I was like, okay, well, I had to work, so I was, and then from there on, I was just sort of checking in as time went on. I was just checking in, and I was like, okay, UConn got the lead, okay, and then I checked in the third quarter, and I was like, what the heck, what? And then I checked in the fourth quarter. I was like, oh man, it's over. It is over, guys. And then I got home and I actually watched the entire game. I watched the game. So yeah. Anyway, now I know fully what happened because I just watched it. But this was insane. Okay, so we're gonna go through this game. We're gonna go through it quarter by quarter, decision by decision, and then we're gonna bring Mama in this for Mama to give her thoughts. Okay? Because Mama watched the game, and Mama felt a whole type of way watching this game. She felt a whole type of way, and we gonna get into it. Okay? I hope y'all are. Yeah, I just hope y'all are excited to have this conversation because this was interesting, very, very interesting. Okay. So first off, let's start with the first half. All right. So in the first half, we see a whole lot of everything. All right. At halftime, we ultimately saw South Carolina down by 10 points. The score was 36-26. But how did we get here? Well, in the first quarter, it was kind of a back and forth battle where I felt neither team could fully get comfortable. Yes, at the end of the first quarter, we saw Connecticut with the lead, 19-14 at the end of the first quarter. But in the first quarter, we saw Chloe Kitts trying to get going. We saw Raven Johnson trying to get going. We saw Bree Hall score. Basically, for South Carolina, it was a little bit of everybody. A little bit of everybody trying to make some stuff happen. Joyce, Raven, Chloe kids, like it was a little bit of everybody just trying to do something. And for UConn, it was the big three. Paige, AZ, Sarah. That's what it was. That's what it was in this one. Paige was knocking down shots. We saw Sarah Strong just blocking shots up a storm, which was fun to see. And we saw we saw Paige Beckers, AZ Foot, and Sarah Strong start to get going. But the first quarter was pretty neck and neck. The second quarter comes. We see a little bit more of South Carolina missing makeable shots. They missed several layups in this game. Now, were those layups contested? For the most part, yes. But still, makeable layups. The thing that kind of held South Carolina in this game as long as it did, as long as they were in it, was because of their rebounding. You can see the first half stats right here. In the first half, we saw South Carolina shoot abysmally from the floor. They shot 25% from 31% from the field in that first half. They couldn't hit anything. They were bad. However, the game was still relatively close at halftime because of their ability to rebound the basketball, especially their ability to get offensive rebounds. In that first half, 11 offensive rebounds, 22 rebounds in total in that first half. This was a team that couldn't knock down shots, was missing makeable shots, was getting their shots blocked, was having players like Sarah Strong alter basically anything they were trying to do inside, and they just couldn't get any rhythm. No rhythm. No real rhythm in that first half. Because all the time, everyone talks about UConn. You talk about the scores. When we talk about UConn, we talk about, okay, Paige is phenomenal. AZ is phenomenal. Sarah Strong is fantastic. We talk about what they can do on offense. That's what we talk about. But the thing that people don't realize as much, and the thing that does not get as much play, is the fact that UConn is a very, very good defensive team. And in this game, you saw it. Did y'all notice when the reason why South Carolina couldn't get any rhythm, into any real rhythm in this game, and the reason why they kept missing a lot of shots, is because when the ball went inside, did y'all see? It was basically two defenders, because you had Sarah Strong or whoever it was, or Ice Brady or whatever, and then you had the guard that was on that side coming in to help, coming in to swipe at the ball, right? I believe AZ got a steal one time of doing that. There was so many sort of like defensive stances where South Carolina would get to the rim, get a pretty good shot off, right? Either a short mid-range jumper or trying to get in there for a layup. And what happened? Altered the shot. Yes, we see in this game, and I'm going to talk about her specifically in a sec. We see in this game, Sarah Strong had 3 blocks in this game. She had 3 blocks. But she altered so many shots, guys. It was insane. How many shots she altered that you don't get credit for, because it technically was not a block, but it's the reason why South Carolina missed. And AZ Fudd, who, yeah, generally, when we talk about what AZ Fudd is, we talk about her three-point shooter, because she's an elite three-point shooter. But once again, she shows us that she is an elite defender. Okay? And this is just one of those things that I'm just like, man, Where's the weakness? Where is the weakness in UConn? Anyway. The first half, we saw score 10-point lead from UConn. This was a comebackable game. Like, this was a game that you can come back from. Absolutely come back from. Not astronomical, right? Not a big deal. We all saw the game yesterday where Duke men's basketball team just fell over, had a pretty massive lead, fell over and lost, right? And so it's like, okay, 10-point lead, not a big deal, right? We just saw the comeback of the century or something like that yesterday. Not a big deal. 10 points, whatever. Then, guys, we get to the second half. And yeah, once again, we got the three amigos. Three amigos in Sarah Strong, AZ Fudd, Paige Beckers. And they are continuing to do their thing. And specifically, AZ Fudd was like, you know what? Just give me that basketball. Let me get to the rim. Let me make some opportunities for myself. And that's what she did. AZ Fudd on defense, still in the basketball. AZ Fudd on offense, not settling for a 3-point shot. Putting it on the deck, getting to the rim, making tough shots, tough mid-range jumpers. AZ Fudd basically took over in that second half. Or not second half, in that third quarter specifically. And in that third quarter, systematically, UConn just took all the air out of the room for South Carolina. Okay? And it started with AZ Fudd. Okay? AZ Fudd knocked down 1 3 in this game. And that 3 she made in the third quarter. But also, in that third quarter, she, what was it, four shots in basically around that paint area for AZ Fudd in that third quarter, right? And the thing was, you worried about AZ Fudd. Well, here comes Sarah Strong. Sarah Strong knocked down a 3-pointer of her own, scoring inside. Okay, well, you worried about AZ Fudd. You worried about Sarah Strong, and that's just a little bit too much for you to deal with. To be honest with you, that's just a little bit too much. That's just a little bit too much to deal with. In that third quarter, we see an instance where UConn rocking and rolling. But then we see a moment towards the end of the third quarter? Malaysia Fulwali, who doesn't really do anything in that first half, she comes in, and I believe it was the third quarter she comes in, and she went for a 3-point shot. She missed it. Somehow she got the ball back, made a layup. Okay? So trying to bring a little bit more excitement to South Carolina. I believe that was the third quarter. She's trying to bring a little bit more excitement to South Carolina. And then we see UConn turn over the basketball. Easy turnover. Malaysia gets the steal. She ends up passing it up for the score. And then what do we see right after that? Gino. Timeout. And that was the end of that. There was a little bit inside of me that was like, ooh, is Malaysia about to do something? Is she about to make some stuff shake? And then it was like, no, that's not happening. Like, that's not happening, because in comes Gino Auriemma, who calls a timeout, and that stops all of that. And, we see South Carolina start to get destroyed again. So, interesting time. And my keyboard has died. All right. Sorry about that, guys. My keyboard died on me, and I was like, "What the heck? Why can't I go to stuff?" All right. Hold on. All right. So let's continue on with this game. Let's continue on with talking about this game, because to me, it just kind of felt like there was nothing this entire game that South Carolina could do. There was absolutely nothing that they could do. Oh, that wasn't the third quarter. Third quarter. Okay. All right. We just see UConn absolutely dominate. All right? In this game. Because when it was 49-35, and we saw Malaysia miss her shot, get her own rebound, knock down a jumper, and then we see on the other end, we see Malaysia get the block, and we end up seeing her get a steal and make a layup. I mean, not make a layup. She got the steal, gave it to Sanaya Fagan, who made the layup. Gino calls the timeout, and he lit into his team and was like, "Nah, no. What in the world is going on? Get it together." And they did. They then proceeded to dominate for the remainder of the game. And it was over from there. At the end of the third quarter, the score was 62-42. And, there was a chance that, maybe this could be like the Duke game. Maybe there is an opportunity for South Carolina to still come back. Right? No, it was over. It was over. It was over in the second quarter. It was sealed in the third, and in the fourth, it was just like, there's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do. Because once again, Sarah Strong scoring. Once again, we see South Carolina missing shots. South Carolina doing all they can on defense, but not enough. And we see the emergence or continued emergence of KK Arnold. Hold on. D-Hawk says copy and mostly no audio. I don't understand. I don't know. It's working. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. If your audio is not working, that's probably a YouTube issue. Please go out of the app, come back in. It should work. Seth Nash is saying restarting stream worked for me. Yeah, hopefully that works for you. I don't know. My audio levels look good, so I'm not exactly sure what the issue is. But yeah, anyway. But what I am trying to say is this was total domination. Total domination from the get-go. Neek the Nerd, thank you so much for the super chat, says, if you are having audio issues, exit the stream and return. The audio will be fixed. Thank you. Thank you, Neek the Nerd. Salute to you. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway. Let's continue on talking about this game. Overall, this was an absolute total domination by UConn. UConn had the lead at the end of the first quarter. They had a bigger lead at the start of the second quarter. They had an even bigger lead at the start of the third quarter, or start of the fourth quarter, and it was all over from there. This was supposed to be A very close game. Yes, I believe everybody basically knew that South Carolina was going to lose today. At least I did. I 100% believe that South Carolina was going to lose. I didn't think they were going to win at all. They're a really good team. I didn't think they matched up with UConn. However, I did not expect for this to be such a blowout, guys. I did not expect to see UConn basically firing on all cylinders and South Carolina not really being able to hold on at all. Guys, in a lot of ways, this game was sad. It was. UConn led at one point by 32 points in this game. 32 points in a national championship game. What are we doing? That sucks. That's terrible. Now, is this a reason to be like, oh, South Carolina sucks. South Carolina's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. No. South Carolina is a very, very good team. However, they got exposed today because they didn't have a superhero with the cape on that'll come and save the day for them. UConn literally had Sarah Strong, who last year on this same day committed to UConn. She committed to UConn on April the 6th, 2024. She said she was going to UConn. Now, fast forward a whole year, April 6th, 2025, and we see Sarah Strong not only play in the championship game, but Sarah Strong absolutely, in my opinion, humiliate Chloe Kitts and dominate to a point where she knocks down 24 points as a freshman. 24 points as a freshman. 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, at least 8 shots altered in this game. Sarah Strong, the freshman. What are we doing here? And if it wasn't Sarah Strong, it was AZ Fudd. AZ Fudd, the player who passed 1,000 career points today. The player who, in my opinion, was the biggest X factor in this game. Right? 24 points for AZ. AZ kept being aggressive today. Aggressive in this game. 24 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. She was everywhere, especially on defense. And then you look at the most talked about player on UConn. Paige Beckers. Paige Buckets, the most talked about player, the most popular player on UConn, all that jazz. Paige Beckers, in this game, does not have a dominant offensive game. She doesn't. And once again, this shows how deep this UConn team is. Paige Beckers goes 5 of 14 from the field. Miss a bunch of shots. 17 points for her. 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Yes, Paige did her thing, per usual, on the defensive end, right? Did her thing on the defensive end. She didn't have to be the person who saved the day because South Carolina didn't have a necessarily go-to player today. UConn had 3, and 1 had a bad game offensively. Offensively, 1 had a bad game. Though, in my opinion, this game was not an overall bad game at all for Paige. She just was inefficient. And it just shows how great. It shows how strong, you get it, Sarah Strong, how strong UConn is. UConn is not just a offensive powerhouse. They are a defensive team as well, which is why when someone asked, someone asked yesterday, where should Olivia Miles go if she wants to get better on defense? I said, the coaches you should go to, two of the coaches I included in that list was Don Staley and Gino Auriemma. A lot of people don't talk about the defense of UConn because they show up and they show out. Because not only do we see, Paige Beckers score a lot of points offensively in general, she also is a great defensive player as well. And you saw it again today. And you see it with everybody on UConn. You saw the 50-50 balls that they were going after. Yes, in that first half, they were getting cooked on the rebounding front. But when it came to 50-50 balls, when it came to just who wants it more, hustle plays, UConn did their thing. They absolutely did their thing. And they got they rebounding up in that second half, and it was fine from there. My point is, you cannot be a one-dimensional team. And UConn has shown time and time and again this year that they are not a one-dimensional team. They're not. And they're not just a one-person team. I talked about it earlier today. This is a team of some straight-up ballers. And I haven't even talked about KK Arnold. Because KK Arnold comes in the game off the bench and spark for this team. Goes 3 of 3 from the field. 3 of 5 from the free throw line. Made 9 points in this game. I believe, and it was really in that fourth quarter where she was doing her thing. Here's the deal. KK Arnold has had a lot of fouls in this game. And yes, sometimes when you are playing very aggressive defense, you can get in foul trouble. However, we cannot talk about this game, and we cannot talk about the win that UConn had without talking about KK Arnold, without talking about Ashlyn Shade and the impact they made in this game. Okay? I'm just saying. This is not just a one-person team. This is not just a three-person team. This is not just that. You have impact players all around the board for UConn. And South Carolina just couldn't contend. I thought this was going to be a possible game where Chloe Kitts could break out. But Chloe Kitts could do nothing against Sarah Strong. Sarah Strong showed Chloe Kitts what she's all about. And as a freshman, she absolutely dominated against a junior. Just saying, And my Malaysia Fulwale, I thought she was going to have a breakout game as well. No, she struggled in this game. And I would say in that first half, she struggled with energy. Come on, let's go on both the offensive and defensive end, right? Picked it up in the second half, I would say, but still not enough, right? Tournament Tessa, yeah, sure. She got 10 points. Joyce Edwards, yeah, sure, 10 points. But you needed someone to dominate. You needed several someones to dominate, and you just didn't have it. You just didn't. And so, yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts generally about this game. And now I want to talk to someone who was watching this game, and I want y'all to hear what she got to say. So hold on, let me call Mama.
Yes.
All right, Mama. So I have just kind of quickly talked about my overall thoughts about this game. But you was watching this game and you watched it live.
Yes.
Can you tell me in one word, how would you sum up this game?
Dominant. I'm trying to think of another word to say. I would say disappointing. Disappointing is the real word. And I say disappointing because I expected more from South Carolina. So it was a disappointing game for me to watch. The first quarter was decent and exciting. But as the game went on, we could see that UConn wanted the win more. I kept waiting for South Carolina to pick up the pace, if you will. And it seems that they were trying, but it seemed that they just didn't have the same level of energy that UConn had. UConn was determined. By the end of the second quarter, even though they were, I think they were up about either 10 or 13 points.
Yeah, 10 at the end of the second.
They were at 10. So South Carolina had came back to get to that point because I believe in the middle part of the second quarter, they had got up to 15, I think, where they were ahead. And South Carolina got it down to 10. So I felt at the end of the second quarter, okay, they got a chance, okay, because they're not letting them run away with it, you know. But as the third quarter went on and I saw how UConn just kept, their offense just never stopped. It was just, it was almost like, oh my goodness, can you all come on and shoot the ball? And when I say shoot the ball, I mean, can you make the buckets? They were getting opportunities, but the balls would not fall. Even in the few layups that they ended up getting in that third quarter, it just would not fall.
But did you notice so many of those were hugely contested by UConn?
Yes, they were. But they've had that before, though. They've had other games where their balls were contested and the balls were able to fall, or they found a way to, in their rebounding, put it back up and get the score. They were not able to do that. And I really think that UConn just wore them down. Their offense just wore them down. They had no answers for Strong or Fudd. They just didn't have any answers for them. Yes, all the other players did their thing too, especially Beckers, but they had no answers for Strong or Fudd. They could not stop either one of them. And that was the strength of the game for UConn. Those two players, to me, were the factors that made UConn win easily.
Yeah.
It should not have been an easily won game based on the skill that South Carolina has. But for whatever reason, once they allowed UConn to get in the groove,
it was over.
Couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it. And it was like, I think they saw the handwriting on the wall, if you will. I think they saw where UConn was going. And they were, by the time it happened, it was too late for them to try to, change where they were in their energy level. You know, like sometimes you can have, because they started out great. South Carolina started out great. Pow hit a three-pointer. Started out great. A lot of energy. But as a UConn offense was so strong, it almost deflated South Carolina because they couldn't match it. They tried. Yeah. They really tried. They tried. Well, they tried everything they could.
I think it's partially because, like, UConn, they have such a layered system. And it was in full show today, and it was clear that South Carolina could do nothing, because when we saw Sarah Strong absolutely dominating Chloe Kitts down low. Where I was just like, man, you got this freshman easily taking you on. You a junior. You supposed to be ready for this stuff. Like it was insane. You had that, and then when you like, okay, Sarah Strong stepped out from in the paint. She's not gonna dominate us no more. Then she started knocking down threes.
Yep, I was like, I'm gonna play the whole game. I'm gonna play it at the rim. I'm gonna play it outside, and I'm gonna take my 3-2. I'm gonna just play the whole game. I'm gonna defend you all. You're not gonna be able to shoot anything. I'm gonna block your shot. I'm gonna alter your shot. I'm gonna do everything to knock you down.
Everything. And her mama was in the crowd cheering her on. Mama, did you realize that her mama and Don Staley were teammates in the past and all that stuff? Did you realize their history? Yeah. Yeah, they got a history together, and you know, Sarah Strong on this day in 2024 or April 4th, 2024, Sarah Strong committed to UConn. And on this day, this year, she does what she does. And the thing is, like, she was doing her thing, and then you had AZ Fudd. It's so layered. Because, like, it's not just Sarah. You got to worry about AZ.
Yep. And she was doing her... To me, I enjoyed watching her more than Sarah Strong, only because I expected Sarah to do that. I know she's a freshman, but she has shown that her play is greater than a freshman usually is. The level of maturity in her game is greater than most freshmen, you know, even at the championship level. Usually they don't advance to that level this woman has done. So I expected her to have a good game. But Fudd, the way she was taking that in, she was like bypassing them easily. They couldn't even contain her. That was the issue why South Carolina lost the game. They couldn't contain her. If they had been able to contain her, they may have had a chance to win. You understand what I'm saying? But
yeah.
If you can't contain, you got the three bigs doing their thing. I think it was the end of the first quarter. They said that between the three of them, they had 29 of their points.
Yeah.
The three of them.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I don't think South Carolina had any off the bench players that had scored anything.
Yeah, and I think at that point, like, no one had like more than 5 points or something like that for South Carolina. Like it was like you had UConn doing a dominance, and you had a very spread out scoring load for South Carolina, but nobody was really, really stepping up over everybody else.
No.
And
they didn't have the energy.
Yeah.
And for Wiley, I don't know where she was today, because she has been dynamite this entire season, and they needed her today.
They needed her. Yeah.
They needed her badly. She could have changed the way the game was played. She could have changed the way UConn challenged them at the rim. She could have changed a whole lot. But for whatever reason, she did not have that same level of energy. And she has been the spark that has led them throughout this season. When they did have like slump games, she was able to come in and change how the game was played. And she just could not do it.
She did a little bit better in the second half, but in the first half, it was terrible. It still just wasn't enough. Like it still wasn't
her, though.
Yeah,
Even if it did better, it still wasn't her.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah.
To the point that at when the fourth quarter started, I think I watched the first 2 minutes, and I couldn't take it no more. I don't like games where a team just completely destroy another team.
Hold on, Mama. Let me explain to the people real quick. Okay, y'all know how when it's a blowout or like whatever. I told y'all I was disappointed by the Final Four. I was disappointed about how like far apart the game was, and how it was like basically it wasn't really a game because you already knew who won and it was over from the get-go. Now, y'all, if y'all think I am bad about not liking blowouts, Mama is way worse. Mama will turn off the TV. She will turn off the TV and be like, you know what? I am done with this because this don't make no sense. This is a blowout. Mama don't like that. So Mama, okay, with that preamble, Mama, you talk your talk.
Okay, so I couldn't take it any longer. I'm like, this is not a game any longer. Y'all just gonna wane down the time. We just need to go down the time, fulfill the time in the rest of the fourth quarter. But I'm not gonna sit here and watch this kind of play because this is not a game. It's a blowout, and and we know UConn's going to win, and I can't look at this no more. Now, I want to let you all know that I was rooting for South Carolina, and I'm going to tell you why. Even though I like both teams, but UConn already had 11 titles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't need to win anymore in my book. They need to have some new blood in the game. That's what I was saying. A new dynasty created. So that's why I was rooting for South Carolina. And when they did not play to potential, I was very disappointed. So by that fourth quarter, I was still okay. They were down, I think 20 points. I think at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I said, okay, they still got a chance because we got 10 minutes. Still got a chance. I saw them how they started playing. Like, oh no, we're not watching this no more. I literally turned the TV to something else. I said, I'm not gonna watch it anymore. I said, I'm not even watch the celebration because I already know who won. I said, I just don't want to see it anymore. I said, I'm very disappointed that they did not rise to the occasion. Mm-hmm. They had the tools. They just didn't rise to the occasion. Even if UConn won in the end, we should have seen a better competitive game.
Yeah.
We just should have seen a better competitive game. We just should have seen it because they had the tools. They just didn't use them today. Mm-hmm. And yes, I know that UConn put their best foot forward. I know that. But you could have matched that. But if you felt that you didn't have that same level of energy, halftime was the time to adjust.
And mama, like all season, and even during this tournament, we have seen South Carolina go into that locker room at halftime. Yes. Don Staley say something, Tahina Pow say something, and all of a sudden in that third quarter, South Carolina comes out dominant. And we saw the absolute opposite. We saw them continue to shrink a little bit. Yes, we did see a quick spark in that third quarter, a quick spark towards the end of it, and then you saw immediately Gino called that timeout, and it was over.
Yep. He was like, we're not gonna allow them to get back in the game. That's what he was saying. That's why I'm calling this timeout. We're not gonna let them think that they got a chance to win. No, we're gonna shut this down now. Show them who we really are. That's what he really was saying to his team. And they came back on the floor, and that's what they did.
And it was over.
And I was like, oh, my goodness. Like, somebody in South Carolina, can somebody give them the energy? Can somebody lift them up to say, we still can do this in this fourth quarter? Because you have done it all season long, turnaround games that they were losing and losing badly. And they came back and won. But UConn never took their feet off the gas.
Never. And they kept that defensive intensity. Yep.
It's great for UConn.
Yeah.
It was great for UConn.
And I'm not gonna keep you that much longer, Mama. Just okay. maybe 5 more minutes, please.
Okay.
Actually, real quick, let me get these super chats. Thank you, Shay W for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Says like the live. Yes, please like the live. That really does help the channel out a whole lot. Thank you so much, Jason, for the super chat. And you got another one. Thank you so much. Says I agree with you. South Carolina had no real dog out there. They were just they were what? They became passive with no real fight in them. Yeah, they did. Yeah. And the whole game, we saw UConn start off with the defensive intensity the entire game. And it started from the get-go. And did you notice, Mama? There was not very many threes in this game.
No, I noticed that.
But
there were three attempts. There were some 3 attempts, but they were not. I think it was only 2 3 balls that UConn made.
Yes.
And I know there were several 3-point shots that South Carolina attempted, and it didn't go in.
So UConn was 4 of 17 from the 3, and South Carolina was 4 of 16 from the 3. But basically, the 3-point, the 3 ball was not much of a factor in this game, and UConn won this game by the mid-range and in the post.
Yep.
And
they
that's
couldn't be stopped in the post at all.
And that's where we see South Carolina normally dominate. And so it's kind of amazing.
But see, kids couldn't do it. And what's the other freshman on South Carolina that had
Joyce Edwards?
Edwards was basically shut down.
Yeah.
They basically shut her down. I guess they talked about her so much for the semifinals. Because she being such an impact.
It seemed like she used all her energy. It seemed like she used all her energy or something because she was nowhere near as dominant, mainly because the defense of UConn was just like, it was stifling defense.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And some of it had to do with their height as well, but that never was really a factor in the past for South Carolina. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter about the heights of the other team. Because when you look at when they played Texas, they had a lot of height, and that didn't stop them from losing. You know what I'm saying? They were able to combat that. But for whatever reason, the mindset of UConn was, we win in this game. Mm-hmm. We win in this game. We're not gonna take our foot off the gas pedal. We're gonna win this game, and we're gonna win it in a fashion that there's no doubt we're the best team that's on the floor.
No doubt.
What they did. That's what they did. So you have to tip your hat to that. Mm-hmm. That's what champions are.
That is true. All right, Mama, I got one more comment. I'm gonna have you get the word on it, and then I'll let you go. Okay. Cause I know you don't want to be on here for forever. I appreciate you though, Mama. Y'all show some love to Mama in the chat. Show some love to Mama in the chat because she has joined us, not in person but over the phone. All right. So here we go. We got Carmela who says, sadly, I feel like this will overshadow all of South Carolina's work. Even with this loss, they are 93%. They have a 93% win rate over the last 4 years. It wasn't talked about enough when they had the title. I mean, facts though. Like, yes, this was a huge win by UConn, right? This was at one point they were winning by like 30-something points. They win the game by 23. This was a huge win, and it was disappointing of a game that South Carolina didn't really show up like that. But Mama, what do you think about Carmela's comment? I think she's right. It will overshadow how great South Carolina has been over the last couple of years, and everybody will now remember this one huge loss and not the sheer dominance year over year.
Well, I hope that's not the case, but that is true. They have not been celebrated like they should have been all year anyway. So they have not been given their dues as they should have been given all this time. So that kind of like downplays how people are going to see them in the future. Mm-hmm. But I would say this, I will never count South Carolina out because of the coach they have. When we say they're good coaches and that they are great coaches, Dawn Staley is a good coach. Better than good. She's a great coach. And she brings out the best out of each one of her players. How she does it, I don't know, because a lot of times you see these players, you don't see them the way she sees them, but she has a way of making them perform to the highest level. It's just they couldn't do it today. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they will not be forgotten as to all the successes they have had. And I believe they're going to have more successes. They just couldn't do it today. And one day should not write the story forever. So that's not just in basketball, but that's in life. If you allow one day to write your whole story, you're small. Because it's more than this one day. Mm-hmm. It's more than this day to get to this day. They had to play all season long to get to this day. So we cannot allow one day to determine their future and their past accomplishments. So hopefully people will not stop talking about how great they are. They just was not great in this game. That's it.
Man, wasn't that a word from Mama? What? Mama, you're right. Yeah, you can't let that just completely, define who you are. And I think it was Haley Van Lith that said it. I believe it was her that said it after her final game, where it was like, hey, this, or it was either her or Georgia Amore. It was like, hey, this one thing this doesn't define me. Yeah, this was a bad game. Absolutely.
Right.
but it does not define everything I have done.
Right. And we just can't allow it to. And hopefully, South Carolina as a team, those that are moving on to the WNBA and those are coming back for the next year or even going elsewhere, they cannot allow this one game to paint their future picture of how they're going to play basketball next season. They have to. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be disappointed about your play today. It's okay. Have your pity party for today. But tomorrow you get up and dry your tears. It's another day.
And you're still alive and you still have opportunities.
You got opportunity to continue your journey. And your journey, you don't know where it's going to lead you. But you don't stop your journey because of one failure. You do not. And that is something we take in life. You know, we have failures in different ways, but if you allow that to happen, you might as well just shut the door, as they say. If you're going to allow one decision, if you're going to allow one day to define everything you've accomplished in life, and you've lived more than a day, I'm just saying, you're not a baby. You're not a baby. So you got to get over it and get over it quickly, because the longer you meddle over it and regurgitate it and all that stuff, you're going to get depressed. And you can't allow yourself to get depressed over one game.
Yeah.
Over one day. Over one failure. You cannot allow yourself to remain in a pity party for too long, because it'll change how you feel. It'll change your performance going forward. So have your moments. Bury it. Okay, I'm rising to the next level. I'm rising to the next event. I'm rising to the next opportunity. That's what you have to do.
And on that note, Mama, thank you for joining the stream. You gotta come over and be in person for some stream down the line. Maybe the WNBA draft, maybe, you know.
Oh, okay.
That's coming up soon.
we'll see what day and how that works with work and everything.
All right, well, guys, say bye to Mama. Mama, thanks for joining.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Y'all, ain't my mama awesome? I'm just saying. Ain't she awesome? She just said a whole word. She just said a whole word here. And thank you so much, Danny. It was Georgia Amore who said it on her missed shot. Thank you. I couldn't remember if it was Haley or Georgia. It was Georgia who said that. She would not let one shot define her career. Thank you so much, Danny, for that. So yeah, man, like that's it. That's the stream. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say, but besides that, guys, I don't know. I tell you this. That this game overall showed how great UConn really is. It showed that UConn is more than just Paige. It showed that UConn is more than just offense. It showed that UConn is more than just being in a easy conference. This is now the 12th time that UConn has won a national championship. This is the 12th time, ladies and gentlemen. 12th time. This team has been doing their thing, have been excellent at the game of women's basketball for several decades now. Since 1995, when they won their first title. They won their first title with Gino Auriemma in 1995. And so they win again 1995, 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2009, 2010, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2025. This team, this amazing dynasty, is continuing to win a boatload of games. We can all say a whole bunch of stuff about UConn. We can say UConn plays in an easy conference in the Big East. And that there's a point to that. UConn does play in a easier conference than the SEC or Big Ten or whatever. But at the end of the day, UConn seemingly always ends up back at the top. This is a team that has not been here for a long time. The last time they won a championship was 2016. Right? And that was with Stewie and them. Right? Remember Stewie won 4 championships in a row? That was the 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. Like, that was that. And after that, nothing. Then we hear all this stuff about Gino needs to retire. He's an old man. He needs to go home. He is blah, 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 blah. He's not with the times. He doesn't understand the new way the things work out. Look, he's back at it. He's back on top. Will this man retire? I don't know. But I'm going to say this. He is a fan-freaking-tastic coach. And he continues to show it constantly. And he is a fantastic recruiter. Here's the deal, guys. The thing that you all need to know is that this UConn team is pretty much losing 2 core players. 2 core players. Not everybody, period, but 2 core players they're losing. They're losing Paige Beckers and they're losing Kaylin Chen. All right? So you're losing 2 of your players, two starters. But I can pretty much guarantee you that this team will likely, barring any crazy injuries, be back at the Final Four next year. Maybe even back to a national championship game. Because this team still has AZ Fudd. This team still has Sarah Strong. This team still has KK Arnold, who I really enjoyed today. Absolutely enjoyed watching today. This team still has Ashlyn Shade. And you can get pretty much book it, that UConn is about to get a fan-freaking-tastic transfer or 2. Because I guarantee you, players who are in the transfer portal were looking at this game and being like, ooh, Paige Beckers, she about to be gone. Ooh, do I want to play with Sarah Strong next year? Man, I can imagine passing that ball to AZ Fudd, right? Oh man, I can just imagine. I won a championship. Oh my goodness. Maybe I should go to UConn. I guarantee you, we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to see 1 or 2 big-time signings for UConn. Because UConn is still at it. They're still at the top of their game. Still. After 11 national championships, they go for their 12th. It's excellence, guys. Excellence over time. Excellence over time. Now, as Mama said, South Carolina did not have a good game. South Carolina did not have the energy and the firepower to withstand what UConn had to offer on both the offensive and defensive end. Yes, South Carolina has an excellent coach. Yes, South Carolina was prepared for this game. They just didn't show up. And sometimes that happens. It's not over for South Carolina. They have a lot of players returning, and assuming no one goes to the transfer portal, this team is still looking very, very good. We'll see what Raven Johnson does. Maybe she decides to come back for another year. Maybe she does not. Sanaya Fagan's out, right? She's going to the WNBA. Tina Pow's out. She's going to the WNBA. Joyce Edwards is back. There is still Tessa Johnson is still there. Malaysia Fulwale is still there. Like there is still a lot of talent on this South Carolina team. Absolutely a lot of talent. However, the one huge glaring thing is you need a bigger shooter. That's what you need. A bigger shooter and or also maybe it's time to fully unleash Malaysia Fulwale. Now, I also can guarantee you there will be some big time transfers getting ready to go in, getting ready to sign with South Carolina. I can guarantee you that, right? I can guarantee you. There's gonna be some big time players going to South Carolina as well. And this team will be right back here in the Final Four next year. They're going to retool, and they're going to be back. Now, the question is, will they have enough offensive firepower in terms of shooters who are in their groove? And a lot of them, because here's the deal. UConn wins because it was 3, primarily 2, who dominated. You need a 1, a 2, and a 3 to make some stuff happen. A primary 1, 2, and 3. And UConn has that. And yeah. So we'll see. We'll ultimately see what happens going forward. We'll see. But I tell you this, while this was not the greatest game ever, this has been a fantastic season of women's basketball. This has been. We saw fantastic numbers this season. This season was very important to the continued growth of the game of women's basketball. And while the season of college is over, we have a champion. That's fantastic. The celebration is here. The confetti has fallen. It's excitement all around. And it should be, because UConn deserved it. UConn earned it. But I want us, and I probably will do this for a future stream, I want us to do a retrospective. I want us to do a retrospective of what has happened this past year. I want us to be able to really, really, really appreciate what we have seen this year and the various feats that we have seen this year. All right? From fantastic performances to milestone markers to ratings. This has been a great year. And while it's over, it's not really over. Because, guys, women's basketball is a full all year round thing. All year round. And while college basketball is ending, the WNBA is coming, and it's about to be great. It's not even just about to be great. It is about to be glorious, guys. Glorious. There's 2 things I want to leave you with. One thing is the fact that the class of 2000, and maybe we'll do a separate stream about this, the class of 2000 has been one of the best classes ever when it comes to women's college basketball. Now I'm gonna do a deeper dive later so we can really talk through it. But this class, and the top of the class, this was the way the class looked, right? The number one was Paige Beckers, then it was Angel Reese, then it was Cameron Brink, then it was Caitlin Clark, then it was Camila Cardoso. This was the class of 2020. I think I may have said 2000. I meant 2020. Class of 2020. If I said 2000, I meant 2020. This class was absolutely special because we see Angel Reese win a championship. We see Cameron Brink, lead her team to a championship, right? So anyway, Cameron Brink was first, led UConn to led Stanford to a championship. Then Angel Reese led LSU to a championship. Then Camila Cardoso led South Carolina to a championship. Remember, that was last year. And this year, Paige Beckers leads her class her squad to a championship. Guys, this 2020 class is wild. It is absolutely wild. Okay? Wild. I just got to give a salute to that class because I think that's kind of fun. I think that's a fun. Somebody hold on. Let me give credit to this person. Darn. Did I save this? I don't think I saved. Darn. I did not save it. Somebody on Twitter posted this graphic, and I did not bookmark it, so I don't actually know who said it. Who created this graphic, but someone created this graphic, and I was like, whoa, that's insane. I totally forgot. Yeah, crazy. 4 championships in the top 5 of the class of 2020. Wild. All right, and then finally, this was a graphic that I wanted to that I meant to talk about this morning. I did not. Talk about it now. Did you know? This is what we're going to end on this. We're going to end on this, guys. Did you know that the 2024-2025 women's college basketball regular season has been ESPN's most watched season in 16 years? When you compare it to 2024, it's up 3% from last year. When you compare it to the 2023 season, it's up 41%. This is the most watched year in women's college basketball on ESPN, where we saw 2.9 billion total views for women's college basketball. And we saw 15 games with 500,000 or more viewers. This is the most on record. This has been an excellent year in women's college basketball. Now, yes, there's a lot of stuff that did not go that great for a lot of teams, right? There's people who are upset about various things. But we have to recognize how big this year has been for women's basketball and women's college basketball in particular. And here's the deal. It's just going to get better. As someone who is very, very invested in the growth of women's basketball, as someone who loves this thing with all my might, I love the fact that I can look at this stat and I can say, wow, this year, not only was the play on the court great, not only did we see some big battles this year, not only did we see some huge performances, some big games, some crazy, amazing freshmen, guys. So many freshmen who were doing their thing. Yes, in today's game, we talk about Sarah Strong. But it wasn't just Sarah Strong this year. There were so many freshmen who were doing their thing as well. And the transfer portal, as always, seemingly changes everything. This has been a great year. And sometimes we can all be negative Nancy's, and we can be all talking about, oh, woe is everything. Everything sucks and blah, 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 blah. Women's basketball is growing. Brandon summed it up correctly. Says the sport has been growing exponentially. They still need more stars to emerge, and they will. We will continue to see stars emerge. We will continue to see awesome performances, awesome games. We will continue to see players come out of nowhere and dominate. I will be watching. Will you? Is the question. Hopefully, this year of women's college basketball has convinced you to continue to rock with women's college basketball, right? And women's basketball, period. Because we're about to go into the WNBA. I will be covering it. I will be watching all the games. I will be fully tapped in. Question is, will you? I hope you will. I hope you will. I really do. I hope to see you on draft night as we do a live stream on draft night, talking through who gets picked where and all that good jazz. We're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff. All right. I hope y'all are in this with me. The draft is April the 14th. I will be live for it. Hope y'all will be rocking with me. We will see. We saw huge numbers last year. Record-breaking numbers last year for the WNBA season. We will likely see that again this year. And as the years go on, we will continue to see the growth of the game of women's basketball. Women's basketball was on a slight upward trajectory. It went boom, up in 2023. It went skyrocketed in 2024. It's gone down a little bit, but it's still way higher than it was. The trajectory is way higher than it was before when it comes to tournament. Outside the tournament, this was the biggest year ever for women's college basketball. Look at what's on my screen. Even when you compare it to 2024. So like during the regular season, this was the most watched regular season in 14 years. Or 16 years. Huge. I love it. Let's continue to grow the game more. And not grow it through divisiveness. Not grow it through hatred of a player. Hatred of a team. It's fine if you don't like a team or whatever. But let's not grow it solely based off of that stuff. Let's grow it because these ladies are awesome. They're fantastic. And we should give them all the shine that they deserve. That's my stream. That's my random spiel. Thank you for humoring me on this. And guys, I appreciate you. This has been a great year. I'm very thankful for you all rocking with me. We've been doing women's college basketball for a long time. I appreciate you. Whatever comes next, I hope you are here and you're an awesome person and you rock with this channel. Because we are only just getting started. We've been doing this thing this is my third championship game. This is my third championship game that I've covered on this channel. Of course, I've been watching women's college basketball for way longer than that. But on this channel, I think this is the third one. No, it's not. Is it? Yeah, it is the third one. This is the third championship game. And we got a lot more. I've done mock drafts before. I will have a new mock draft probably tomorrow. I will go live for the draft. Yes. All right. Anyway, that's it. I have nothing else to say. Y'all have a good one. Y'all have a great one. I don't know. Have a nice life. Be kind to people. Be respectful to people. Don't insult people. Don't treat people horribly. Because you wouldn't want to be treated horribly, would you? Anyway. So yes, UConn won. Absolutely. UConn fans, be happy. Excited. Y'all should celebrate. South Carolina fans, it's just a game. It's fine. Move on. Yes, y'all didn't play well at all. But that's okay. You move on. Because think about it this way. At least y'all made it this far. And all these other teams did not make it that far. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the stream. Okay. Y'all hit that like button on y'all way out. Lisa says, I came on late. Do you think Leigh will stay? Yeah. I don't think my Leigh's just leaving. I don't think she's leaving. Anyway, see y'all next one. Bye-bye. See y'all in the morning. Morning, 7:15 a.m. Central Time, 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Join me right here tomorrow morning. All right, see y'all. Bye-bye.